What happened to your play? What happened to your ability to play for the joy of playing? What happened to your ability to create for the love of creating? As children, these things were so innate to us. We played just for the love of it. We created just for the joy of it. Over time, those innate qualities have been dampened within so many of us. As we start to mature and reach adulthood, the qualities of play and creating are not considered necessary for living productive, successful lives. But I would argue the very opposite is true. If we are to gauge how necessary something is by how alive it makes us feel, then I would say that play and the ability to create is absolutely essential to our being. I didn't always used to think this. In today's video, I'm going to share with you why these qualities that came so easily to us as children may hold the key to us feeling truly fulfilled and living genuinely rich and abundant lives. Hello and welcome to Temple of Akasha, the home of embodied spirituality with me, Natasha. I'd like to start today's video with an inquiry. So I invite you to close your eyes down with me or to soften your gaze. And let's just take 3 breaths together. Breathing in all the way down to fill the belly. And as you exhale, letting the exhale flow through an open mouth. To soften, to release, to let any tension or tightness melt away. We'll repeat that 2 more times. And slowly making the way from the mental awareness center into the body landscape. I invite you to ask yourself today, when was the last time you truly played? When was the last time you felt the joy of being uninhibited in your expression? When was the last time you felt truly free within your being? Allowing your awareness to scan through your history, to scan through your felt experience of yourself, and to notice, has it been hours, days, weeks, months, years, or decades since you felt truly connected to a sense of play, which is so innately linked to a sense of freedom and to our innate creative energy. And now, as you scan through your life, I invite you to notice if there was a point in your personal timeline when you denied the play within you, when you denied your expression in favor of convention or conditioning or pleasing people or meeting some arbitrary expectation laid out by society. Was there a moment in your personal timeline where you closed the door on the part of yourself that knows how to play, that is brought to life by play and creativity? When was that moment? Or when were those moments? And what did you adopt instead? What did you favor instead of play? What did you deem in that moment to be more important? Was it pleasing other people? Was it not being too big or small? Was it validation and approval? Was it belonging? Just noticing why you may have abandoned the part of you that needs play, that loves play, that needs expression without containment, without rules, without standards, that needs to be organic in its connection to its life force energy and creative energy. When did that severing occur for you? And just getting a sense of how long ago that severing began. Just taking a moment to notice what arises during this inquiry and to send yourself some love and compassion for living in a world that does not appreciate the necessity of play and creative energy, for not trusting yourself enough to move towards the things that truly felt freeing and liberating for you at the time. For doing the best you could. And recognizing now, as a mature being, as an adult, you have the freedom to express and create and reclaim your play. That is my invitation for you today. And when you're ready, you may wish to open your eyes and bring some animation back into the body. Play has not been something as an adult that I have been particularly connected to. My spiritual awakening journey has been an intense one. It's been one that has taken me through many successions and revolutions of change and transformation in a relatively short space of time. A lot of those changes have been very challenging. And I found that throughout my 20s, play was something that really evaded me. But at 31, I find myself hearing a distant call that it's time to play again. It's time to let myself live again, fully live, to be fully expressed, to open the closed doors within my being and to fully stand in all that I am and in all that I came here to do, without apology, without alteration, without justification to others, but simply because a lack of play has often left my life feeling dry, hollow, and without sustenance, without deep nourishment and fulfillment. And I think that that's an important piece of imagery, that idea of life without play being hollow and dry, because the energy within us that fuels play is predominantly the sacral center, the second primary chakra of the body. It is the center that allows us to connect into our dynamic nature. It's the center that's so innately linked to our sexuality and our creativity, both expressions of actually the same source, the same raw potential of energy. And this is the energy that also fuels our ability to play. And so if a life without play feels dry and hollow, then surely the answer is the lubrication that comes from a well-adjusted, well-harmonized, dynamic sacral center. So what does that really mean? To be connected to our sacral energy, to be connected to this part of our being that truly lives in a dynamic, organic, fully expressed way. At the heart of our sacral energy lies sensuality. When you first hear the word sensuality, you might immediately think of sex. So often, sexuality and sensuality are conflated in our modern lives. We can no longer distinguish between our sexual energy and our innately sensual nature as beings with senses. And so the reason that I speak about sensuality being at the heart of our sacral energy and also being so linked to play is because when we recognize that our ability to play is directly linked to how much we can be in contact with the present moment and fully receiving it through our senses, allowing the aliveness of this now moment to inspire us, to give us joy, to fill us with a sense of awe and wonder, to really bring our dynamic nature to life. To be sensual is far beyond our sexual expression, although it does often encompass our sexual expression in its healthiest form. Our sensual nature is our ability to be connected to our bodies, these portals that allow us to receive the fullness of life and to derive a sense of joy, pleasure, play, inspiration from life in each and every moment. This might sound far-fetched. It might sound as though this is an impossible task to be able to connect with the pleasure of life in each moment. But on my personal journey, the more I start to connect to my sensual nature, the more I realize that this is actually our organic original state. It's alive, awake beings connected to the present moment, connected to these bodies that are receiving information, energy of a vibratory nature and quality in each and every moment. And that is influencing us, that is informing us. There are invitations in each now moment. And there is something really delicious about that if we have the awareness to tune in, to listen, to be here, to receive the present moment. So what does our sensuality have to do with our ability to play? Well, so often, if we're disconnected from an ability to play, it's an indicator that we're also disconnected from our sensual nature. This is the feminine aspect within all of us. The feminine being the aspect of us that is receptive, that is fluid, dynamic. Water is a resonant representation of the feminine in this way. Think of the dynamism, the flow, the fluidity of water. This is so much a part of our feminine nature, to be fluid, to be free-flowing. And being disconnected to our sensuality is a bit like taking water and putting it in a container. The natural flow of that water is being inhibited in some way. Now, it's not always a bad thing to contain our energy. This is vital in other areas of our life. But when it comes to our sensual nature, which is really our ability to be connected fully to the now moment, it's really important that we're not bound or constricted by conditions. So the container that I'm drawing on the imagery of is often our conditioning, our programming, the fears that we inherited and developed. Those are the things that contain and often diminish our sensuality. If your sensuality is your ability to feel life, to be connected to your raw expression, your authenticity, your ability to be fully yourself, fully expressed, we can see how in a society that has really moved towards rigidity and convention, how our sensuality doesn't really have a place anymore and has been confined to the realms of our sexual experience only. And even then, sensuality is often missing in a lot of people's experiences. But if you can recognize that your play, your ability to feel playful, is so connected to that sense of freedom and dynamism, it's that ability to sing when you feel inspired, to dance when you feel like it, to laugh when you feel like it, to cry when you feel like it, to flow and create and move and speak and interact in ways that feel authentic and make you feel alive. Those are the things that so often inspire a sense of play within us. And those are the things that are very much at odds with the current prevailing paradigm. I believe it is our duty to ourselves, our responsibility to ourselves, as well as to healing the world we live in, to reconnect to these principles. These are the things that were innate to us as children, and our eternal inner children need these things to feel well-nourished, to feel satiated. Yet so many of us are living in a split with unintegrated eternal inner child energy and living from a very pragmatic mental space of adulthood, disconnected from our bodies, disconnected to our sensual nature, disconnected from the organic unfolding nature of life, and instead stuck in automating habits and routines and ways of being over and over and over again. Most people are not truly here. They're not truly present. They're living according to their programming. They're running on autopilot, and nothing kills our play like living on autopilot. I'd like to share a little bit of my story about my journey with play. When I was a teenager, the thing that most brought me to life was drama, acting, and performance. I'm a Leo sun and I have a stellium in Leo, so I'm sure that goes some way to influencing this aspect of my consciousness. But I was so passionate about performance. I was actually one of the top 10 students in the country at GCSE level for my drama GCSE. I got a full marks A star, and I remember that our final performance that we were graded on actually made our examiner cry. Performance and acting was something that brought me so much aliveness. It brought me to life. And I believe that acting is one of the most powerful mediums of embodiment because it provides a portal into freedom of expression. The parts of ourselves that maybe we would feel too self-conscious of embodying in our day-to-day lives, we have the permission to do that when we act. We have the permission to do that when we perform. In fact, we're being encouraged to do that when we perform. So it's actually a very healing modality when it comes to reclaiming the parts of us that might otherwise be discarded to the shadow or the unconscious. And that's the freedom I found in acting. I love to push the limits and the boundaries of what I was doing. The most memorable experience I have was playing a drunk male judge when we broke the fourth wall and I was sitting in the audience. And the joy I got from making people laugh, of being outrageous, of having no holds barred and just being fully in the performance. Because the more you're in the performance, the more convincing the performance. People are no longer seeing an actor, they're seeing the character coming to life. And that was so liberating for me. It felt so freeing to be able to use my voice, to move, to create in ways that maybe Natasha otherwise wouldn't. But when I was 17, things changed. It was the year I had to decide what I was doing at university, and I was faced with choice points. My deepest desire was to pursue acting and performance. I'd already written my personal statement out, and this was what my heart wanted more than anything. I wasn't thinking about a career in acting. I just wanted to spend more time doing what I loved. But the adults around me didn't quite have the same idea. Although my drama and acting skills were strong, my school really encouraged me towards convention. They wanted me to pursue an English degree or some kind of traditional subject that would look good for them and then have better employability potential for me afterwards. As someone that was really seeking a lot of validation and approval from the people around me at that point, I unfortunately wavered on my soul's desire, my soul's fire to pursue acting and performance. And I eventually settled on studying English language and journalism. This decision had a devastating impact on me. And I see now how much of a karmic choice point it was to choose English over drama. In astrology, my South Node, which is your karmic past, the things that you've experienced in other incarnations that you've got a lot of experience in, is in Gemini. It's at 29 degrees, which is the last degree of any sign. So my soul has had many incarnations playing with the Gemini archetype of communication, writing, being a wordsmith, playing with words, being a strong communicator. This is something I'm good at. It's a comfort zone for me. It's something that's very familiar and comes relatively easy to me and always has. And acting was pushing the boundaries. It was taking me into uncharted territory. My North Node is in Sagittarius, which is a fire sign, and I really felt the fire of my soul light up when I used to act. Unfortunately, I didn't quite have the trust in myself and the integrity to follow what truly mattered to me. And I listened to the people around me encouraging me to take the safe choice. And this had big consequences for me. Within 6 months of being at university, I fell into deep depression and suicidal ideation. Unbeknown to me at the time, I would be plagued by these issues for the next decade of my life. There were many times that I wanted to leave my degree, and again, I got no support from the adults, especially the teaching faculty around me. to take time out. Mental health wasn't something that was being discussed at the time. And the people around me just thought I should keep calm and carry on and get on with it, as we often do in British culture. And so I ended up dissociating. I ended up spending the next 2 years of my life numb and focused entirely on getting a first-class degree, which I did. But it came at a huge cost. I'd severed myself from my soul. I'd severed myself from my connection to my body. I'd severed myself from my connection to play. And life started to feel very heavy and very unfulfilling. And it would continue that way for a very long time. Fast forward to the present day, and I find myself at a critical moment. That part of me that I confined to the unconscious, that I said wasn't important, wasn't conventional enough, that part of me has been banging on the door for the last decade of my life, saying, hey, I'm still here, I still have needs, I still want to play, I still want to express. And I'd found myself over the last decade feeling more and more bound, not by my external conditions, although the mind sometimes judges that that's the case, but really it's an internal binding, it's an internal constriction that we find ourselves coming up against. It's our own judgments, it's our own stories, it's our own fears that we so often have to wrestle with in order to reclaim the parts of us that we discarded or we resigned to the realm of shadow many moons ago. I'm currently in Koh Phangan in Thailand, and on the community forum I noticed that there was an improvisation class, and just that class, just an improv class coming into my awareness, sparked something for me. It wasn't quite aligned for me to attend the class, but just the awareness of it brought something online for me. I started to realize that this part of me that I'd resigned to the shadows, that I had denied and avoided for over a decade, just wanted the freedom that you often get in an improv class to express unashamedly and to re-access the experiences and freedom that I would feel when I acted. And after a little bit of self-inquiry, I started to realize that I want to incorporate the things that I loved about performance in my work now, that actually the medicine that I can utilize is the very thing that I discarded in favor of convention and conformity. Given that so much of my work is about helping people feel more free, more connected to their authenticity, more connected to their souls and their hearts, I find it kind of ironic that life has brought me full circle back to the very thing that brought me to life in the first place. Even though I don't have the desire to act anymore, I still have an aspect of my consciousness that loves to feel expressed in the way that I could when I was acting. And it really goes beyond the medium of acting. It's just the state of consciousness that's accessed when we're doing the thing that we love. And that realization that that part of me still exists and that actually I can integrate it right now. It doesn't have to just be in an acting class. It doesn't even just have to be in my work. It can just be in my moment-to-moment experience of choosing to feel less constricted and more connected to my sense of aliveness. It has really freed up a tremendous amount of joy and play and sensuality in my experience again. And the idea of getting to share this thing that I absolutely love in my current work as a spiritual teacher and embodiment guide really lights me up. My work had started to feel dry and uninspiring. I wasn't feeling particularly connected to the current form of work that I was offering. And I realized that that's because I've been beckoned towards an expansion. And our expansions are always asking us to move forwards as the fullness of who we are, which often means we have to go back and reclaim parts of us that we left behind. And so my inquiry for you today is to consider where you might have discarded or left key aspects of yourself behind. What really brought you to life as a child? What brought you a sense of aliveness, of play, of creativity? What experiences throughout your life have really allowed you to access a sense of sensuality, play, freedom, expression? What mediums really allow you to feel alive, to feel the juiciness of life, to feel the fullness of life? Perhaps it's time to open the door that you closed a long time ago and bring that aspect of you back into the fold It could well be one of the major keys that you've been looking for on your journey as an awakening soul, because life does feel very dry without a connection and an integration with our eternal inner child. So where can you have a little bit more fun? Where can you allow yourself to play more? How does your body really want to express moment to moment? How do you want to be in your friendships and your relationships? What words do you really want to speak? When do you really want to sing and dance and hop and skip and jump? How does your body want to move if you were free and liberated and not bound by ideas, standards, or fears? We've been bound for so long to conditioning and programming that has led humanity down a very dry and dark road. So much of our spiritual nature is now absent in the world, and we're seeing the consequences of that. I believe that reconnecting to our sensual nature, to our bodies, to an innate sense of play and innocence is essential for our evolution as a species. And so let's be part of that revolution together and reconnect to our sense of play and authenticity even more as we move forwards on our spiritual journey. I hope this has been a helpful reflection for you, and I really look forward to connecting with you again in the next video.